Hello and welcome back. Today I am in Australia and I'm visiting one of my besties, Nicole.
Hi.
And I'm so excited to have her on as my first in-person guest. So welcome.
Oh, your first in person?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'm honoured. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and I'm picky with my guests, so.
Oh, she's picky with her guests.
It's a good thing. But I really wanted to have you on because we met when I had just moved to Ibiza. Literally just got there. I was in this state of like almost desperation of like needing somewhere to live and was very, very heartbroken. And I met you and you were in literally the same position.
Yeah.
So I would love to just share a little bit about how you kind of got to that position and to just chat about Ibiza life, moving. You've transformed your life so much.
Mm-hmm.
And to give a bit of background on Nicole, she runs her own business now. She's doing super well in Australia. It's really exciting. But when I met her, it was all just a bit of an idea. Like it wasn't a thing. And so to see you flourish has been incredible.
Thanks.
And I'd just love for you to share a little bit about where we were then and where you are now.
God, where we were then. But we always joked that we were like, in that time, I feel like we had met in a past life and we signed soul contracts that said, I will find you at this specific time when you need me the most. Because when we met, it was wild, wasn't it? Did someone send my story to you or vice versa?
Yeah. So I knew one person in Ibiza and she was a cousin of one of my friends. Like she wasn't even my friend. Megan. And I was staying with her, but she only could take me for 6 weeks. And at this point, I was like, I just got to Ibiza. I decided, you know what? I don't want to live in London again. Like, I want to live in Ibiza. This is where I want to be. And she put it on her Instagram story, and your friend Jess saw it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And then connected us.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that is how it happened. And it was all very random. So basically, we were both these heartbroken girls just looking for roommates to move into. We were both kind of looking for a 2-bedroom. Our stories differ. They're very like parallel paths, but they differ in the details. And I think for me, I was really familiar with Ibiza. That was like home for me I did seasons for 4 years. That would have been my 5th year. And I had just done a stint in Bali and went through a breakup. And then I like ran back to Ibiza as my safe ground. And then we moved in together. And yeah, now we're like, when we moved into that apartment, guys, we lived on the West End.
If anyone doesn't know what that is like when you think of Ibiza, that actually is what it is. It is the party place to be. Like, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I can't believe
it's like the strip. Like, think about the crazy bar scene, which, to be fair, at the time suited me because I was a wild child, but
it didn't suit me.
It never suited it never suited you.
I was like, why am I here?
But even that story behind getting that apartment and everything was also really aligned and loads of synchronicities. And we were like, yeah, whatever, it works right now. So we moved into this little, oh God, it was bad. It was bad, but you know what? We made our own for the time that we were there. And we just built this really strong friendship in that short period. I think not that we trauma bonded, but we definitely we had a lot of similar feelings and emotions that we were working through. I think we definitely held each other in that space a lot. And sometimes as well, when you're going through a heartbreak and you're feeling that low and lost and unknown, it's special to have a friendship where you're just getting to know each other and they can almost illuminate the amazing things about you. So you're it just shows you things about yourself. Like if you were feeling really shit and I'd be like, but I think you're amazing at this when you're first getting to know somebody, and it kind of brings you back into yourself while also blossoming in this new friendship.
Yeah.
We cried together, we laughed together, danced. We're both obviously into meditation and cards and stuff as well.
Yeah.
So it was amazing. But it wasn't for me long term.
Yeah.
G stayed. G is now
I'm still there.
Ibiza girly.
I love it. I've never done anything like what I'd done, and I found that actually really inspiring, actually, to see how other people, how you actually can live. And I'd love for you to share a bit about really your path in terms of like how you were able to basically just live and travel constantly, because a lot of people ask you that now. I know when we met, a lot of people were asking you that at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people are really attached to their jobs, and they're attached to security and financial security, and things that scare them the most about doing the things they love is, but what am I going to do without all this money?
Yeah.
And so I'd love for you to share, like, what do you do? Like, how do you live a life that fills up your soul? You can travel without necessarily going down this traditional route.
This is such a complex answer, I think, because for me, it definitely was like nurtured in childhood. I think I was always very spontaneous and very like out there with stuff, but I grew up in a disadvantaged area, so we never had like a lot of money. It was never a thing in my house. It was never, I'm like so grateful that my parents, they did the best with what they had, and they're amazing. And I'm like, I have so much respect for them now in my adulthood, like looking back. But they never like forced me to do anything. They never went to uni, so it wasn't like a structured thing in my household. I did actually go to uni after school, but you know what it was for me? I hated school. Probably people that are watching this can relate. If you're not like traditionally academically smart, or if you like learn in different ways, sometimes the education system doesn't really like cater for that. I think now it's changing, but anyway, I really did not vibe with school. I have a problem with authority. We've all figured out I'm an Aries, so I'm working on that. But yeah, I couldn't understand why these people were making me sit in a room for 8 hours to do things that like didn't spark my soul. Like I was like, I know that I love physical activity. I know that I love art. Why are you making me do maths? And why are you making me feel like I'm stupid just because I don't grasp this or understand it? Like my interest wasn't in that. So, you know, and for some people that was where they flourish, and they were maybe struggled in other things. But when I left school, I went to uni, picked a random course, because there is this pressure, right? Like you're in this system for most of your childhood, and then there's also like no real transition stage of being like, by the way, like take a second to breathe and think about what you actually want to do. I feel like there's not that. Like you get to your last year of school and they're like, okay, like pick what you're going to do for your future for the rest of your life. That for me felt so claustrophobic. I never ever could relate to it. So I went to uni and I did marketing with Spanish. What?
Wow.
Yeah, so random.
With
Did you even know
Spanish?
that about me?
That would be so handy right now. Marketing with Spanish.
I know. And I think I was maybe, because I always knew that I wanted to like, I was fascinated by Spanish. Yeah. I was like Spain, like, I don't know why, but
wow.
I'm like, funny now that I actually lived in Ibiza for that long. But I went to uni. I thought it was going to be very like media focused, very like organizing, event planning. Don't know where I was getting it from. But then I went, and the modules were like financial accounting, business maths. And I thought, absolutely the fuck not. Oh, can I curse on your podcast?
You've done it now.
I thought, absolutely not for me. And then I also had this idea of uni being this like freedom and blah, blah, whatever. And then I went in and I was in a room with 4 walls and a lecturer telling me what to do. And all of a sudden I was like, this is skill, but I'm just older now. And didn't relate to it. I was class rep though. Like I got good grades. I got elected as class rep, which makes sense for me because I'm quite like social and outgoing, but like loved it. Was organizing all the socials. And then I was like, what am I doing? Like I was going into uni, flunking all my classes to organize like the social. So I was like, something's not right here. So anyway, I dropped out. And then I was like, okay, what do you do now? Get a job. So I have tried every job that you can ever imagine. I didn't do the go to uni 4 years, think about your career, go into the like corporate world, like you said. I was like, okay, I'm out on my own now, like figure this out. So I did all types of different jobs, like worked in a dance shop. I was like coaching baton gymnastics at that time as well. What else did I do? Worked in a shop, like all the things you would think about. And I knew deep down that I just did not belong in the area that I grew up in. I didn't relate to any of the other kids or like teenagers my age. I just always felt this thing like there's more. And I think a lot of people have that niggle, but they don't
say.
Yeah, for me, I was really lucky because my parents were always like the fuck it, go get it. Like they never really were like, you know, you need to think about your studies and you need to think about your finances. And in some ways I'm like, that was a blessing and a hindrance, because then you don't have any savings. But it allowed me that freedom to just be like, I could die tomorrow. Like, what am I saving for? Let me go and live this experience. So I went and did my very first season. And that was everything you can imagine a season in Ibiza was. Yeah, really wild time in my life. I think, like you said, I have changed so much from then, but I reflect back on that part and I think I absolutely had to go through it. It was just another version of me, and I learned so much about myself, about working in general, like work culture, about other people, about social interactions. Like I worked on the West End, funny enough, and in Ibiza Rocks. And I remember I got hired in Ibiza Rocks and I worked as a VIP host. And then within like 3 weeks, I don't think they anticipated how big VIP was going to get. It was like the first year they were trialing it. And within 3 weeks, they promoted me to supervisor. So then I was managing a team of people, and I learned so much in that space. Like all of a sudden I was like, I actually am smart because I get it. I get this, and I'm entertaining people, and I'm hosting, and I'm upselling, and I'm learning all these things that I never learned in school. And I was like, I'm not dumb, actually.
Yeah.
So I got really used to this lifestyle. I thought, wow, this is really sparking something in me. I loved the freedom. So I just started saving my money as much as I could in that time. So my first season, I saved a bit of money, and then what I would do is save and then travel. So in season work, it's different because you're 6 months off and then 6 months on. So in my 6 months on, I would save. 6 months off, I would travel. And not that at the time, like, yes, would recommend, because I had the absolute time of my life and I now have so many memories and stories, but it's maybe not the most sustainable way of living necessarily, because
I think that's the thing though. I think like we're a bit bored with necessarily like, oh, this is how you should live. Because why does something have to be a forever sustainable thing? Like, why can't we have these phases? And we do.
Yeah.
Like realistically, actually, we do have phases where and I think that's so healthy to go through a phase of like the wild phase or the traveling phase or anything like that. Because then when you are literally at your deathbed, you're not going to be regretting, oh, I never went traveling, or I never did that thing that I said I really wanted to do.
Yeah.
I never started the business. Like, and these things, I don't actually think anything is meant to last forever.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think there's real power in that statement alone. Like, things are not supposed to last forever. I think death, this comes up a lot in the women's circles, but like the topic of death in itself is something that, as like humans, we all tiptoe around. And I'm like, but it's the only inevitable thing. Like, it's going to happen. All of us are eventually, that happens. Maybe I think as well, because when I was younger, my mom was diagnosed with stage 4 cervical cancer. And I think that happening at such a young age, like it changes the perspective of everything. God, I feel a bit emotional.
Yeah.
Wow, I haven't like. Oh. No, I'm fine, but it's just like, wow, maybe there's a bit of. It's not even like I don't feel sadness, but I just like fucking love her so much. I'm like, wow, warrior.
Wow.
But she taught me that like this can happen. So I think for anyone that has like been close to losing a loved one, or like God forbid lost a loved one, someone that's really close and had to like experience grief, especially, it shows you that like things don't last forever.
Yeah.
And why would you not do the thing? Like, if there's something in your soul calling you, why would you let fear stop you from experiencing that? And it's so sad because people do. They live their whole lives. Like, you get to your deathbed and most people say, I wish I had more fun, or I wish I had have given less of a shit what people think about me. Or
not even on their deathbed, like right now, like people, I get it all the time in my DMs, like constantly, like people saying that they wish they could do things and they wish they had things.
Yeah.
And it's like, go and do it. Like, go and do the thing.
Yeah.
You know, like, why are you not?
Yeah.
And I really feel that. I really do. And thank you so much for sharing that, because I think it's, like you say, I say it to you all the time. I was speaking to Nicole about this earlier. I was like, I really think you should talk about how you really live for today, because that's something that I really am genuinely so inspired about with you, is that things can be so uncertain. Like, you cannot know what's going to happen, you know, next month, let alone next year. Yet I watch you live your life to its fullest. And realistically, that's how life is, isn't it? Like, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, actually. We think we do. We get used to a monotonous routine, or we get used to things being the same for a while. But COVID has shown us that too, right?
Oh, yeah.
That actually 100%. Things can change really, really quickly. So maybe that's got something to do with your experience when you were younger with your mom. And that's now like a really strong thing that you're like, I'm going to live.
Yeah, no, it is 100%. Yeah. So much of how I live my life, and I think how I am as a human now, is because of that, and because of like almost having it taken away and then it wasn't. So you get given this really like beautiful second chance almost. You're like, I'm not going to take a single thing for granted, because some people don't get that second chance. So yeah, I just think even like her strength through that time with like 3 young kids, like my parents were amazing at making sure that like I didn't really see her go through treatment, or when it was really bad, like they were just so amazing at like, everything's like, mommy's sick, but it's okay. Do you know, they like made sure we were really comfortable. But any decisions, any hardships that I'm faced with now, I'm just like, if my mom can get through that with 3 young kids, I can do fucking anything.
Yeah.
And also, like, so last year for me was a bit turbulent. Like, I've been through a hard time. And people always say to me, they're like, I just don't know how, like, you're still the way you are. Like, how are you still doing this? And I'm like, because life happens. Yeah. Like, it's just ebbs and flows, light and dark. You can't have this bliss and happiness and like euphoric feeling without knowing what it feels like to sit in the fucking shit in the dark. You can't have love without heartbreak. You can't have success without failure. You can't, whatever failure even means. I'm like, that's a fucking made up word.
Yeah. What?
That's not real.
Who came up with the word failure?
Yeah.
Hang on a minute.
It's not real.
Nah, I'm not okay with that.
You can't fail. You can't fail. Who, by what measurement does like you trying something and whatever somebody said is the right way to do it, if it's not that, what do you mean you fail? You just learn.
I was literally speaking with one of my clients about this, because we were talking about her new business idea, and you know, she's so quick. Then this happens, like, this is how our brains are wired, right? Our brains are really wired to keep us safe. But it kept happening where she would be like, oh, but you know, she'd find just a problem or a hurdle or I can't do it because of this. And the brain is just giving her endless excuses, right? And the big one was like, but what if it doesn't work out? And this, oh my goodness, it stops everyone. Like, especially with like when I moved to Ibiza, like so many people were like, but Georgia, what if it doesn't work out? That wasn't even on my mind right then. I couldn't think of that because I was so in the depths of heartbreak, like you say. And what an actual gift actually that was, because my rational brain wasn't talking me out of it. I was too like in the moment to even think about that. And it's only when you can start to flip that around and say, hang on a minute. Okay, what if it doesn't work out? Okay, what is working out? Like, what is it? It worked out.
Yeah.
What is that? And like that failure, that heartbreak, that darkness always brings a gift.
Yeah, it's a lesson.
Yeah.
And I think this is where you can get a bit woo-woo. But I think this is where also, wow, my mom is really like, her energy so present in this. Like, did not even feel that before we sat down and went into it. But it's coming up a lot. But she was quite spiritual. So my mom is a Reiki healer as well. And I think having faith in something bigger than us is so important. And there might be people watching this that are skeptical or, you know, have their own beliefs, and that's absolutely fine. I'm not telling you what to believe in at all. I would never. But just whatever your faith is, and that's completely yours to have, knowing that there's something bigger than us, like you are divinely guided. What if it doesn't work out? It's like, okay, it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
Like,
it was, yeah.
It's a course correction. You're being guided onto a different path. And in that moment, in that darkness, it feels like the world's on your shoulders. It feels like it's never going to get better. Like, there's nights where I cried myself to sleep for weeks on end. I didn't eat. Like, when you're in the midst of it, it doesn't feel like anything else, but something in me was like, it gets better. Just, you need to go through this. You need to feel it all, and it will get better. And now, 6 months later, I'm like, oh my God, it all had to happen because I needed to learn X, Y, and Z about myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always a lesson.
It is. Like, and when you were talking about how you can't feel the euphoria without the darkness, I really feel that because, like, in my daily life, I often feel euphoric. Like, I just love life. And you were laughing at me the other day because I'm just like, I talk to nature. I'm just like, I love you, sun. Like, I'm just so like,
she's a nature fairy.
I'm just like so grateful for like the earth and how amazing this planet can be to like sustain us and give us food and look so beautiful, and it blows my mind. But I also have those times where I'm like really in the depth, like I feel so deeply in the darkness, and I wonder whether actually those things are interlinked. Like your ability to feel at a certain depth just goes both ways.
100%. If you are any way sensitive to energy, empathetic, any of it, like, actually it's a superpower in my opinion. Like, when people are like, oh, you're so sensitive, like, stop taking everything to heart. I'm like,
we had this, didn't we?
Actually, that is a beautiful thing, to be able to feel that deeply. Like, you don't just see the sunset, you are connected to it. You can like feel the warmth. You become orange when you look at it. Like, that is incredible. It's incredible. But it also just shows that you're connected enough to your body, like physical body, but also your soul and your energetic body, that you can feel to that extreme.
Yeah.
Whether that's a positive or negative emotion, whatever, we've also attached like positive or negative to certain emotions. It's like, there's high vibrational emotions, which is love and gratitude, and there's also low ones that are jealousy and hatred and whatever, but again, also necessary.
Yeah, they teach us something. So I really think that, if more people can really embrace, like, actually, if something doesn't work out, it just wasn't for me.
Yeah.
Like, think about, so me and Nicole met when we were both going through like a really hard breakup. Like, we were so torn up about it. Like, we were crying to each other all the time. We thought it was the worst thing ever. Why don't they want us? You know, like, all of this. We were so, like, in it. But now, looking back, that was 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
So, how glad am I that I went through that? Are you glad that you went through that?
I mean, yes.
Yeah.
I'm currently experiencing another heartbreak though. So if we're
Not-
gonna
we're not
if we're
quite-
gonna be really vulnerable and raw and honest. But again, like that, exactly what you're saying, in that time I felt like, oh my God, there's no one else. The world is gonna end. I can't believe this is happening. Like all of that. And then lo and behold,
Falls in love again.
I fell in love again. And for so many different reasons. And again, it's just like when I look back, I'm like, it was all necessary. It was all part of the journey. And that person who I'm now heartbroken over, I'm like, maybe he's my forever, maybe he's not, maybe he comes back in, maybe he doesn't. But it's the trust and the surrender of being like, it's gonna be okay regardless. Like, just because that relationship didn't work out doesn't mean that I failed. It just means that I stuck to my values, I followed my heart, I went all in, and maybe at that time it just wasn't meant to be, and that's okay. Like,
yeah, I feel that. Yeah,
you know,
I really do. I'd love to talk a little bit about your transition and kind of where you're at now, because so Nicole was living with me in Ibiza at the very beginning. This is when we went through the depths. And then I moved to a beautiful house, which I still live in now, which I'm so happy about. And we were like partying on the way, weren't we? In my car, like.
No, we were sad partying.
Were we still sad?
No, it was like,
I don't know if
we were in your Mini.
Yeah.
And it was like, so I had made the decision to go back to Bali, and you had found your new house, and we had all of George's stuff. Like, the car was in her little Mini, the car was packed up to the roof with suitcases. We were like, the chairs are like pulled right up to the dash. You were like driving, and we were literally both of us like this. And it was like this really amazing moment of like, we did it, we got through the shit, and now we had like built this incredible bond, and then we were like parting ways, and it was a little bit sad. But we were like ready. Like, I was leaving Ibiza, you were going to your new home, and we were singing Fergie, Big Girls Don't Cry,
which is now our anthem.
But big girls do cry.
But we just
let it out, babe.
We changed the words. Big girls do cry every day.
But go on. Sorry, what were you saying?
But just like the thing about like moving abroad, I think I have a lot of people in my community who are really into travel and really into living abroad and things like that, but maybe not sure how they can make it possible. And for me, I mean, I moved to Spain when Brexit had just come in place. So I got a visa that people said I would never be able to get. But we were literally talking today because it's coming up to me renewing my visa. And we were like, you were like to me, you're like, what's your backup plan?
Yeah,
you need a backup plan.
That's someone like me, though, to ask that question.
Right? Great. Maybe because you've been hanging around with me.
Because she's here.
And I've been asking Nicole the same thing because you're in Australia now and you're Irish. So because of some interesting events, okay, I'm just going to clue you in a little bit because I'm sure will you be okay with me sharing that?
What? That might breach it.
What happened?
Oh, sure.
So basically, Nicole fell in love, came to Australia with the guy. It didn't really work out. But then after a while, she decided to move back to the UK with him.
To him.
Mm-hmm. To him. He was already there. It'd been a bit of a gap. And so she'd made this huge move. Then basically there's time periods for visas and she kind of missed it basically. So now you're in a position of you have applied for another visa, but you're waiting.
Yes.
You know, you don't know if it's going to get accepted. And this is the thing about visas. And if you want to move somewhere, you want to live abroad, you know, we don't have necessarily the luxury of freedom of movement and living wherever we want, which we think is ridiculous.
Yeah, we're like, why? Just let us live and be happy.
Right?
People want to live there, just let them live there.
But I was saying to you, Nicole, like, what's your backup, X, Y, Z? And yeah, I'd love to talk about that because actually, you know, we could both, something could happen and we could be denied visas. So then what?
Okay, there's something in this as well. So then what? Initially, the body wants to feel fear and like panic, fight or flight. You're like, oh my God, then what? But do you see how straight away I was like, then what? That is a slight mindset shift that I had to learn. I'm sure you did as well. Like, instead of being the panic of then what, it's like, well, what if that was just the most exciting question anyone's ever asked you? Like, then what? You have the whole world at your fingertips. What are you going to do with that? You can, absolutely. And I know everyone's circumstances are very different. So some people have mortgages and kids, and there's a lot of moving parts involved. But if you want something,
you can get it.
You can have it.
Yeah.
You can have it. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
My nanny used to always say that.
Yeah.
But it's true. Like, I came back, applied for another visa. It's still bridging. I don't know what's going to happen with that. And would I like to stay here? Absolutely, yes. I love my life in Australia, but I have to be okay with the possibility that that doesn't happen. And then what? Something that I learned as well from that, going back to the UK and having this idea of what it would be and everything else, is like, when you attach yourself to an idea of something, like a full circle back around, things are not supposed to last forever, potentially. You can argue that if you want, but it's like, I had this idea of what my life was going to look like, and I was so ready for the ring and the babies and the dog and all of it, and all of a sudden that was not my reality anymore. So it's like, okay, I had to learn very quickly that things change, and what's out of your control is the world around you or whatever else happens. But what is in your control is how you deal with it and how you respond. And life goes on.
I read the most amazing book in lockdown, called A Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And he's a Holocaust survivor.
Oh, wow.
And that was literally his key message of the book, was literally like, you can only control your reaction and how you react. And how powerful from someone who literally has had all freedoms taken away from them to say that, and to say, actually, you know what, there's one freedom you cannot take away from me ever, and that is my ability to react.
Yeah.
And how I react in here, how I express that, everything. And that's something that I think, fear, I think this is a really big one. Fear, I talk about it a lot. Like, it runs people's lives.
Yeah.
And it's just so limiting. And I always will say, and this is something that really resonates with me, is that you can always choose to be on that frequency, or to choose fear or to choose love in every single scenario. And so to choose fear in a scenario of, oh, okay, my visa didn't work out, is like, oh my God, my life is ruined, I can't believe this, blah, 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 whatever you want to say, failed. And to choose love is to say, okay, I just trust. I trust that wherever I go next, it's going to be great.
Yeah. Walk with faith over fear.
Yeah. Yeah, so, you know, you might see me and Nicole in Mexico next year.
That's what we were like. We're like, well, do you know what? I would not, I'm not ruling it out, because you just never know. You just never fucking know.
You just never
Honestly.
And that's been good for me to hear as well, because I'm getting so used to my Ibiza life and very comfortable. I've been there for almost 3 years now, so the idea of changing that doesn't feel great. I will be honest, especially because I've really found like my dream lifestyle. I talk about that a lot, but I have to be okay with it. I have to just be okay with actually maybe something else is around the corner, or maybe that does stay for another few years.
I also just want to highlight quickly, just a thought that came up there while we're having this conversation, is like, you have to also feel through that space first. So the like, my life is ruined, it's never gonna get better, fuck this, fuck her, fuck me, fuck everything, right? Like, because there's probably people watching this that could be in a bit of a tough space right now, and you're watching two girls being like, yeah, well, we just, you know, accept it and surrender and trust and know that it's all going to work out. But like, I've also been in the space where you can't receive that information at the time. Just know that it does get better, and you're watching this for a reason, even if it's something that you can't fully absorb right now. Some of it will stick, I hope, and maybe it's something that you revisit and come back to. But feel how you feel right now. If it is tough and it's dark and it doesn't feel like it's going to get better, fully feel it, sit with it, acknowledge those feelings, like notice that they're there, give them space to be, validate them, like, wow, okay, I'm really like in a low vibration here and I can't really find my way out of it right now. Validate it. Any like, breath work, meditation, journaling, whatever your like outlet is, if there's a way that you can get those feelings out of your body in some way, creative expression. Sometimes this is a fun one that I've been chatting with my Reiki clients, because I always recommend journaling, but some people just don't vibe with journaling.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you don't vibe with writing, I'm going to give you some homework. Take your phone out, put it on record. And I know, as uncomfortable as this is going to be for you, take your phone out and start speaking into your phone. No one's ever going to watch the video. It's just for you. But it's like video journaling, like diary, video format diary. So just say like, okay, I feel, start speaking. Because one, you can speak a lot faster than you can write. And two, using this, like opening up your throat space and allowing expression, like writing it down is amazing, but actually vocalizing it and like using your own, everyone's voice is their own unique frequency and vibration, right? So when you open that space and release it out of your body, almost immediate, you'll be like, wow, okay.
Yeah. And it's like being able to admit how you feel.
Yeah.
Like, I've had that recently where, you know, I feel so privileged to be able to travel, and I've been absolutely loving it. But when I was in Bali a few weeks back, like, I was really actually having a real hard time, and I didn't want that to be the case. But I had to come here and chat with Nicole about it, and I can't not be honest. I had to be like, you know what, actually, yeah, like it was really tough, and I'm going through some stuff. But even just being able to say that, like, makes me feel better. So yeah, I would say that's such an amazing tool to record that and just listen and just digest. Okay, that's how I feel right now. Fine. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. And most likely what you'll find is a lot of it, again, stems back to fear.
Yeah. Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah, I'm scared of this. And then you'll be able to hear it and hear,
oh,
this is actually what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fear of abandonment, fear of, like, it all stems back. And then sometimes as well, when you're able to see it, like it's tangible in front of you, it's a word or it's a video or whatever it is, it just makes it less scary. You're like, oh, what? Why am I afraid of that thing? Like, no.
That's
what would you say to your friend? That is one of the most powerful things. What would you say to your friend? Start speaking to yourself like that.
Yeah.
It's wild, isn't it? How we can't just, like, I wish I could hold mirrors up to everybody and be like, look how amazing you are.
Well, it is. Like, I really do believe that people are mirrors and we get to see. And this is why I think, you know, Nicole and I, we've been talking a lot about comparison, and especially within like business and with women, comparing. And I think it's really fascinating to look at that idea of, okay, people as mirrors. And this is something that I go through in depth with my clients, with my one-to-ones and my mastermind. Like, we talk a lot about this because it's something that can really be unpacked through your relationships. So anyone that you look at and you think, oh, she is doing amazing, like, I love how she does XYZ, it's so highly likely that that person is reflecting back to you something inside of you that is wanting to be seen. And you might not feel like you are expressing that part of you. So maybe if you think someone's really confident, or they've taken a risk, or something's like really gone well for them, and you would never be able to do that, inside of you, actually, you can do that. And that's why you're resonating so much. It's a mirror that's saying, tap into that part of you, because you have every ability to do that. And likewise, on the shadow side of it, when you're looking at someone and you're like, oh, I can't believe them, like, what are they doing? All of this, trolls are the best example, you know. Typically, if you look at someone who is trolling someone, or someone who is saying something bad about someone, 10 out of 10 times, I'm not even gonna say 9, like 10 out of 10 times, that exact thing that they are pissed off about, that exact thing that is triggering them, is in them.
Yeah.
It's something they do.
It's full projection.
Yeah. So I think owning it is really important, and understanding that actually people are mirrors. We don't have to, we're not necessarily all the same. We are built so differently and uniquely. We couldn't be the same if we tried, and we do try quite a lot.
Yeah.
Actually.
One of the girls said something in a circle last week that I just thought was so potent. Like, I can't remember the exact sentence, but it was something around like, I find myself comparing myself to, like, say, a girl on Instagram or like somebody else, but then in the next day comparing myself to someone else, and they don't look anything alike, or they're not anything alike. And I'm like, that is mad how you're just comparing to everything, but it's not like this one statue, like pedestal thing. It's so many things. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah,
like,
that's so intense.
We're just so conditioned. It's mind-blowing.
Yeah. But it's interesting as well, because I really do believe this. And if you look at our world today, like, if you look at the way social media is created, you look at even the way our iPhones are created and wired to be used, human psychology is used against us to control and to manipulate us. And I'm not saying this as in like a, oh, everyone be scared way. Like, it's just, for me right now, I just say that those things it's just a fact. Like, it's how it is.
Yeah.
And it, you know, you can break free from it. We'll go into that. But when it comes to comparison as well, I feel like it's just been twisted. Like, in society, it's just kind of been twisted, because actually our brains do naturally compare. That's how we can know the difference between something cognitively.
Yeah.
And there's just been like this twist on that cognitive function of comparison that's turned it into something of that it's bad that something isn't the same as something else or similar.
100%. Yeah, wow.
So let's
like,
not do that.
Let's not do that. Well, it's just like, if you think about something that you're insecure about in yourself, like, for example, let's use us, right? So I think that Georgia is really intellectual and so good with words, and you hold yourself in a way that's like, you can tell that you're educated, you're smart. And I always feel like I will never be that. Like, my brain doesn't function that way. And I used to really have shame around not being that way. and like admire it about people and can look at them and be like, wow, that's incredible, but like I will never be that. And then I would like shame myself, and then I'd feel not good enough in business and not as like valuable as somebody else that's in the same line of work or whatever. And it was actually Kiva, I also do events with, who I would say you two are quite similar in that respect. Or maybe it's just that you both make me feel that a similar way. And it wasn't until she said, like, but you have so much life experience. Like when you speak from the heart, and people really relate to how raw you are, and like what you provide is so valuable, but in a different way. And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
And I had to like, it felt uncomfortable. I was like, I'm going to sit with that and accept it, because clearly like it's working for some reason. Like my business is not on the floor. It's, you know, I'm doing okay. But again, it's that comparison. Like I don't need to be like somebody else and what their success looks like or what their story looked like to get there. It's okay to take my own path and do it my way.
And you're literally doing great as well. Like I hear that, and I like almost can't let you say I'm doing okay. Like, because you are doing amazing. Like, she's freaking amazing. This girl did her yoga training, got from Bali into Australia, brand new, started hosting yoga classes. Before you know it, like almost 100 people are turning up to do yoga with her. Like this is insane. Like you are doing amazing, and like anything you put out there, she just put out events. And people will come to them because they relate to you, because you're real in a world full of marketing hacks and hooks and gimmicks.
Yeah.
We just want to see something real, and that's why it works for you. So thank you. And you are freaking smart, because the intelligent people of the world in the suits, you know, can't do that.
Yeah.
They're playing by this playbook and this rules and must be done like this because this is how it's always been done. No, we're bored of that now, actually. We're really freaking bored of that.
Yeah. People want realness, something that they can relate to.
Yeah.
This open, honest conversation.
Yeah, and you're not doing what you do in your business just because you want to sell to people, just because you want to make money. It's kind of like the opposite. Like the fact that you make money is a great thing, but you are 100% doing this because you care and you want to show up for people and support them.
Yeah.
And that is why they buy from you.
Mm-hmm.
And so that it's like this paradox of like, oh, when you're not trying to get money from someone, you're just trying to help them. That's when they're like, how can I pay you for this?
Yeah. Yeah, I fully agree with that.
Yeah.
I think we had a conversation last night where it was like always reminding yourself to check in with your values, and like when it starts feeling like if I'm doing this for the wrong reasons, I don't want to do it anymore. Like I've had people saying to me like, you're mad, you should be doing so much more, you could be doing this, you could be making so much money. And I'm like, but actually, like, it's not about the money for me. I'm fine right now. It's okay. And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, like people are obsessed with scaling.
Something else just popped into my mind here, and I'm like, should I even say it? But I think there's like, so what you just said about my YTT came here, classes were flying out like crazy, like almost 100 people at a class in an hour of my week. I was making a good wage, 1 hour work. And I think like I really had to check my ego in that time.
Yeah.
Because it, like, we're all human, right? It's natural, it happens. Where I absolutely let it get to my head for a second. And I was like, but also like have compassion for myself, because that is not realistic. Like, in what world does that happen? Where you just, you know, like traditionally you finish your training, you go teach at a studio, or you build up your clientele. Like, that's how it's supposed to happen. But this really unpredictable thing happened to me, so I was trying to navigate that, and like I don't know what the right way or wrong way to respond is, or if there even is one. I was just learning as I went, but there was definitely a period where I had to be like, okay, sit the fuck down and like remember why you're doing this.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
And I think that's also like an important skill, to be able to pull back and just go, hold on, like, I appreciate you saying that and being like, you're doing great. Like, this is amazing. Look at what you've done. But I'm like, the purpose is to help people, and that needs to be at the forefront. And it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were having this conversation about like kind of ways to do business, and you know, right now as well, I think it's such a thing where it's like, this is what you do, especially in marketing and attracting clients through content marketing, which is just the thing right now. Like, you can make so much money when you know how to do that. And that is ironically what I teach people, you know. But my rule is I will only work with people who have purpose-led businesses, who I know really care about making this world a better place in some way. But actually, we were talking about how, and I was saying to Nicole, it's like, there is a way, like there is a structure, there is a step-by-step that you can do to make that work for you, right? But actually, what I'm starting to see, and what I really believe actually, is like we said about the values, it's about your values. They're unique to you.
Mm-hmm.
No one cares about the same stuff that you care about. You might think they do, but they actually don't. So when you can be so authentic in that and just express it the way you express it, but also do the bits that feel good for you in this process, in these steps, in the structure, but actually have room to throw the rule books away sometimes and say, I'm just not going to do that, actually, you know?
Yeah.
I admire that about you as well, because you're just not going to do anything that's not authentic to you. And I think people need to know that you don't have to be this cookie cutter, boring marketer. Sorry, but everything's boring right now in terms of what I'm seeing in marketing. Like, you get to do it your way. You get to do things that people have never done before. So yeah, that's and I said that to you. It's like, that's why I think things work for you, because you just do stuff that people haven't done before.
Yeah. And I think there is like, there's real power in standing in your like true authentic self and not giving in, I guess, to the pressures or the norm or what people expect or think you should be doing or all of that. It's like, actually, when you take a second to pause and like listen inwards and tap into your intuition and check with like you underneath it all, what feels good. Like, that's something that I don't know how many times I've said that since you've been here, but I'm like, what feels good? Like, fuck all the rest of it.
Yeah.
How does it feel in your body? Does it feel good? So if it's a yes, great. If there's hesitation, maybe sit with it a little bit longer, go a little bit deeper. If it's a hard no and you feel that like bout of anxiety, listen to it. That is your internal compass telling you that like, this is not what you're supposed to be doing right now. And when you trust that and when you connect with that, and it might be the most uncomfortable thing you ever do, because most of the people that I work with are like, we say recovering people pleasers, but like,
yeah, same.
It's like, when you make that really uncomfortable choice to actually follow your intuition and do what feels good for you as opposed to everyone around you, you are sending a signal to the universe, to God, to source, whatever you believe in, that says, yeah, you know what? I'm ready to step up.
Yeah.
I'm ready to receive what's next. I'm ready to step into my higher self.
Yeah.
You know?
There needs to be evidence. Like, yeah, I really resonate with that.
Yeah. It's, you just cut out all the shit. And then next thing, all these opportunities start opening up and you're like, wow, that wouldn't have happened if I said yes to going out with this person that I really didn't want to do, you know?
And the should word, like the should word. I should do this, I should do that. No. Like, what feels like the right thing for you to be doing right now? The moment someone says I should, when it's something to do with their business, I'm like, you're about to ruin your genius. Like, because your genius and your uniqueness is not around should, because should is that comparison. It's a perfect word for us to know we're clearly in comparison mode when we're using that word.
Yeah.
Instead of tapping into us. How would you suggest people tap into themselves and start to understand what is for them. Because I think as well, there's a really big difference between what doesn't feel good here and in your body. Like in your head, you know, sometimes it can be a hard no in the head. Do you know what I mean? When someone says, oh, you know, actually you could quit your job tomorrow, the head's going to say, oh, hard no. Where's my security? All of this. But actually, is that exciting? Are we buzzing about it in the body? All right. Maybe it's not the worst idea in the world.
Hold on, what's that little feeling in there? Yeah. It can be very different. What would I tell people? I think, again, this is something that's so subjective. It takes you trial and error to figure out what feels good.
Yeah.
Like for me, I know that if so everyone has masculine and feminine energy in their body, right? Males and females. I know that if I'm more in my masculine, a little bit more like action orientated, right? What's the next thing? Go, go, go. We're planning tomorrow already. And I know that I need to pull back a little bit and slow down and nurture my feminine and be a little bit more like flow and creative. For me, I would just go take a dance class because that's how I connect. That's not going to be the same for everybody. So it takes you trying new things, having the conversations. Like there will be some people that you really resonate with and really connect to, and there's going to be people that where you go, she's full of shit, like, and that's just how it is. So listen to it. And also like spending time alone is so important. I think there's a very different I guess meaning of being lonely and actually just like sitting in solitude and allowing that time and get to know yourself. Like,
what do you want to do?
What do you want? If you're getting up every day, going into a corporate job, or not even corporate, any job where you feel absolutely miserable and you're like,
or even your own business.
Yeah, your
people
business.
do that to themselves in their
just
own
work, or it could be anything. You know, it's whether it's a relationship, whatever it is. Like if you're waking up every day and you're thinking, oh, this just is really like getting me down, that is a signal. Okay, what about it is pulling you down? Is it the person? Is it how they make you feel? Is it the environment? Is it the actual role itself? Is it all of the things? Like, does it not align with your values? All of these things, start to question it. Again, journaling, writing down, meditating, listening inwards. I'm trying to like, they sound so cliche. Like I know there's this like mainstream like movement now of like, oh yeah, meditation's so cool, like do breath work and but there's a reason it's everywhere and it works.
Tapping in.
Get to know you. Maybe that's in books that you relate to. Maybe it's listening to podcasts. Whatever it is, use all of these amazing things that we have at our fingertips right now. And get to know yourself. Nature as well. Nature is so healing.
Beautiful. Okay, is there anything else you want to share or ask me or anything?
We have so many deep conversations in our everyday. I'm like, I don't know.
Okay, well, thank you
you
for sharing so openly and vulnerably.
I can't believe I cried in the first 10 minutes.
I know.
It had to come out. It was obviously in there and needed to flow.
And thank you for listening, for watching. If people would like to find Nicole, how can they find you?
You can find me Fitsoul by Nicole on Instagram. My website is fitsoulbynicole.com. I'm like, my personal page is embarrassing.
No, it's not. It's brilliant.
Well, I made it when I was 16 and the handle is Queen Nicole. And you know what? I've built a brand around it now, so I can't change it. So
I think you're a queen. I love it.
I think I'm a queen too, but you can find my personal page at Queen Nicole X.
Yay! I was going to tell them if you didn't. Thank you so much for listening. I hope this inspired you a little bit. If you had any realizations, or if you enjoyed it, or just want to chat to me or Nicole, please send us a message. Send me a message on Instagram, Georgia St. John Smith, or on LinkedIn, wherever you hang out. And we will see you maybe. God knows
in
where.
Mexico.
God knows where we're going to be next time we see you. We're going to be somewhere on this earth.
Yeah.
Okay?
Bye.
Enjoy. Amazing.